Welcome to the Outsmart Burnout Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Zaria Rubin, a functional medicine doctor, an international speaker, and a burnout badass because I've been there myself. After walking away from my own high-stress medical career, I discovered how to break free from burnout to reclaim my passion, purpose, and joy. And now I'm here to help you do the same. From science-backed tips to time-saving hacks, and hopefully some aha moments that just might change your life. So sit back, relax, and let's do this. Eva Medilek is a multi-award-winning executive leadership trainer, #1 best-selling author, facilitator, renowned international speaker, and successful real estate investor. She's also the founder of Optimize You High Performance Coaching. As a multi-certified high-performance coach and trainer, Eva offers holistic leadership and collaborative communication coaching programs to individuals, groups, and organizations so they can achieve optimal performance in every area of their lives. With her signature personal performance profile, her clients are able to identify what's sabotaging their performance so they can achieve higher levels of personal and professional success. Wow. That's a mouthful. You got a lot going on and you've
Sounds like a
accomplished so
lot,
much.
but
Yeah. And isn't that funny? Like when we hear our own bio read back to us, we think like, oh gosh, that's actually really impressive. But when we're asked ourselves, maybe we downplay our achievements or all the stuff that we've
it's
accomplished.
always interesting to articulate what you do because we just do it, right?
Right.
But
Right.
when you put it into words, it's like, "Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's that dreaded question, "So, what do you do?"
What do you do?"
And to be able to, like, convey that and explain that in a way that isn't just like, "Wah, wah, 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 wah," that is meaningful to the person that you're talking to. So even if it's not their area of expertise, even if it's not their field, they can make that connection immediately, and they might see like, "Oh, I could see how that would be really interesting," or, "I could see people that I might refer to you for that," and
Yeah, exactly.
I guess maybe we need to do a whole other episode on, how to network and how to present yourself and personal branding and all that. We do have an episode on personal branding way back in season 1, but yeah. So it's so
One of my good friends does that, and he's doing a live event out here in October that he wants me to attend, and we talked about this very thing, like and he has this thing like, "What is your verb?"
ooh.
And I can't remember what I wrote down in the in but, when you think about it, it really is gosh, it for me, it centers more about being curious and inquiring, just really inquiring or
Mm,
asking more questions, and so that's how you learn,
yeah.
by being curious and asking more questions and I think that helps us optimize our lives because we are so full of assumptions as human beings that we can go
Mm.
down rabbit holes that aren't even relevant, but we heard one word or something that triggered a certain thought, and we don't take time to really inquire to make sure that we're on the right path. And so, when you talk about the communications part of what I do, that has a lot to do with it. It's more powerful to ask the right questions than to have the right answers.
I love that. Yeah, that is fire, and I think that as human beings, as coaches, as speakers, as folks who are hopefully here to educate and inspire that, yeah, it is about asking the right questions. And that's what I love to do here on this podcast is ask questions for, 45 minutes from amazing folks like yourself. So I always like to start at the beginning, and you have quite an interesting story. You have gone through, like many of us, some twists and turns. There was some dentistry, there was some real estate, there was different iterations and different phases of your life.
Yeah.
And how did you get to where you are today, becoming a high performance coach and speaker, and what sort of led you eventually to this point?
Well, it takes a life-changing event for us to change our lives, right? And so for me, I was in dentistry literally since I was 14 years old. And, my first job back when we had working papers, way back in the early 1900s, I took off. And so dentistry.
God, when we say the early 1900s, I mean, it really sounds like the Middle Ages here.
I
Oh my
know, I
god.
know, I know. So I have to exaggerate it because even the real timeline is like, "Oh my god, I'm that old." But I kinda knew from an early age that dentistry was gonna be something that I was gonna, make a career out of because it was literally my first job in high school. And that was such a part of my identity and, being a hygienist had withstood a lot of downturns in the economy until we got to, you know, 2008, 2010,
Mm,
where my job and my livelihood was really impacted. And that was the year I turned 50 in
mm,
2010, and I was downsized on my 50th birthday, literally. I was preparing a big celebration, and my boss is just like, "Not only am I cutting your days, but I'm cutting your salary too." And it hit me like a punch in the gut. I had kids in college, I had a couple of mortgages, I was adulting pretty hard. And for the first time in my life, I was scared. And I had to go interviewing at the age of 50, and of course, my competitors were all newbies out of school and ripe in their 20s and 30s and not having the salary demands that I needed to
right.
be a full-grown adult, and it was the realization to me that I didn't wanna do this the rest of my life. I had married, I was newly married. I was only married a year at this time, and my husband is from Germany, and all his family's there, and we had this vision of spending summers in Europe, and I'm like, "Okay, how is me having a 9 to 5 or whatever gonna coincide with me spending 2 months in Europe? That's not gonna work." So I had to find something else to do. To supplement the dental hygiene salary. I had pieced together some part-time jobs to make it work, but I just couldn't see myself in my 70s having to work, and I wanted something that was a little bit more time freedom, and I think we all kind of feel that when we,
Yeah.
are well into our middle age, like, "What do I wanna be? How do I want this part of my life to look at like?" And,
Yeah, I think that that you just made me think of something really important. It's like I think in the first part of our lives when we're in our, teens, 20s, it's like what do I want to be? And like what do I want to achieve? And what is this job that I want or
yeah,
this
yeah.
career, this title that I want? But then when you get into your late 30s, 40s, 50s, you're like, how do I want to feel and what do I want my life to look like? It's not so much what do I want my job to look like or my title to be or like this constant, cycle of achievement. You want freedom and happiness
It's
and
so about the free
flexibility.
Yeah, the freedom and the flexibility, which I had pretty much as a hygienist. You could really work part-time and still do well or piece together part-time things, but, my mom and dad's era of that pension didn't exist in dentistry, and so I had to really look at what could I do that I would enjoy and not have to go back to school, but that would give me the life of freedom. So I tried a bunch of things. And one thing I teach my clients is clarity comes from action, not from knowing what you want to do and then doing it. I
That is
tried and failed a
so
lot.
true.
Yeah. And so I took those steps and somehow I fell into real estate investing. And that was something that I could do and create passive incomes from, rental income and flipping houses, got into my creative side. And so I was working as a dental hygienist, building a real estate investment business on the side. My husband wasn't that into it in the beginning. So I was really at that point, I felt like I had two full-time jobs, building something from scratch. I made a huge investment to learn how to do that at the time when my salary was reduced. So there was a lot riding on this. And that's where I got really burnt out because I was wearing so many hats. And as a woman, I was still doing all of the cooking, all of the shopping, all of the laundry. So I
Mm,
was working full time as a hygienist, building a sustainable business, which took a lot of effort from someone who only knew dentistry since 14 years old.
yeah.
And, you know, it was like, if you remember that you have to be of a certain age, there was a commercial that came on. It was for a perfume commercial where this woman comes out and she's singing, "I can bring home the bacon, fry it up in a pan, never, never, never let you forget you're a man,
Oh
'cause
my
I'm a."
gosh. I'm old enough to remember that commercial.
It had a catchy jingle, and so that
Yeah.
stayed in my, like a, what do they call it, an earworm? That was like my
Uh-huh.
earworm for my life. I can do it all. I'm a woman. I can build the business, feed
I
the
think, yeah,
family, da 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 da, all the things.
that's what we were sort of taught,
Yeah,
Gen X and the generation just before is like, yeah, we're taught that you can do it all, have it all at the same time, all at once, all systems go, and it's
and
just
look fabulous
really
doing it.
yeah, oh
Girl,
yeah, because you have to, girl, yeah, you
'cause
gotta look
remember she
fabulous.
came out first as a housewife, holding a frying pan, then she was in this business suit of
Yeah,
the '80s, and then she was in
the
this
'80s,
sexy ball
the
gown. I'm
power
like,
suit,
"Girl."
yeah, the '80s power suit for sure. Oh my
And, and what that got me was burnt out, stressed out, overwhelmed, and exhausted. And so what had happened was, it affected my health, the stress,
mm.
migraine headaches, neck and back pain, my well being. I was always tired, talking about being tired, exhausted. And like anytime anybody would ask me something, it would be like, like another thing. It just oozed out of me how overwhelmed and overworked that I was, but I was on this mission to build a successful business so I could retire from dental hygiene.
And
And
did
that,
you recognize it at the time? Did you say like, "Oh, I'm burned out," or not
you know
really?
what? I had what they call as soon as disease.
Mhm,
As soon as the business gets to a certain level, as soon as I own a certain amount of properties, as soon as I make a certain
mhm,
amount of money,
mm.
then I can exhale and
Oh,
take
yeah,
time for myself.
I called that living my life on layaway.
I call it as soon as disease. Well, as soon as
Mhm,
this
yeah.
happens, I'll be able to.
Yeah, it's like one day I
Well,
will,
yeah,
or like I'll be happy someday, or
yeah,
I'll sleep when I'm dead.
yeah,
I'll
yeah,
yeah, it's just yeah, the stories that we tell ourselves
yeah,
and
and we just keep going because I think as women, sometimes we don't realize how impacted we are until it's too late, and as soon as it happened for me when I discovered that my husband was turning to some other female. That was a slap in the face, punch in the gut. I knew we were kind of short and snippy with each other, and I was just little Miss Cranky Pants all the time because of I couldn't stay awake with Netflix. I was just always tired, but I was on this mission, like, "I have to do this. I'm 50. My life is over. Like, I only have 2 good years that was my mindset. Like, I'm
right?
so old. It's not like I'm in my 20s building something. I got a lot of catching up to do to be an entrepreneur. And so when I discovered, quite by accident, that he was turning to someone else for love and affection. It really showed me who I was being as I was building this business, and my immediate thought was, other than the hurt and the disbelief, was, "Wow, I must have been some kind of biatch to have this man who, I still believe to this day is just a good man at heart, to choose this."
Mm,
And so I knew that, not letting him off the hook, so don't hear me wrong, but I knew that I was a part of it. It
yeah,
didn't happen arbitrarily and by itself.
yeah, it doesn't happen
I
in a
contributed
vacuum.
to it. Yeah,
Mhm,
I contributed to this. What was
mm,
my part in this? And that was the wake-up call for me that I wasn't being the type, if I looked at it, I probably would have cheated on me too, you know,
mm.
looking at I just wasn't pleasant to be around because
That's a
of
very brave thing to
how
admit.
I was feeling. And
Yeah.
And some people might say that, well, like, he shouldn't have done that. Yeah, there were things I shouldn't have done. There are things he shouldn't have done, and I don't see that as tantamount to him committing murder. To me, it was just like we had a choice point. Like, are we going to do the work to build a new relationship, not repair the old one? For
Mm,
us, I did the real estate metaphor. We had to tear it down and build a new foundation.
mm.
And, did he want to be with me? And I always had that fear. Well, what if he didn't? But we made the decision together to do what it takes to build a new relationship, and I think that gave us a better relationship than we would have had if this didn't happen.
Wow. Wow. That is very, I think it's a very inspiring and quite an unusual story for people to take that and get stronger from it and to really take it as a wake-up call. I mean, that's
Yeah,
that's
it was a wake up.
often what it takes in burnout. I mean, it's really it's like
Yeah,
the
it's about
the
it's your
tagline of
health.
my show, but
Yeah,
yeah, it's
it's your health or something, but
yep,
there's
it's
something
something.
I intentionally made sure that I only shared this with people I knew would be supportive of both of us and would not bash my
That's
husband.
hard.
Because I fortunately had a community around me that would not automatically take my side and do, like, a whole waiting to exhale, throw his clothes out the window, set him on fire, kick
Yeah.
her, because I knew he's a good person who did a stupid thing.
Yeah. 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 Wow.
And so the community that I had around me was supportive of both of us, and that really helped my mindset in, working hard for him because, you know, I fought for his greatness, not for his weakness and his
Mm.
limitations, and the
Damn,
same thing for
girl.
me.
Wow.
And that's what good coaching does. Not that I coached him, but I'm just saying
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
get to bring this into other areas of my life, and that is how I became a high performance coach because high performance coaching helped me optimize myself so that I showed up as the person I wanted to be and still be successful. I didn't have to sacrifice my personal life to be successful in my business life, and that's what a lot of
Mm.
people do.
Yeah, I think that we sort of decide that there is a trade-off and that you do have to make some sort of a decision and you can't have it all at this point. That's kind of what we've concluded. But so you're saying that you can, it just depends on the way you go about it
I
and
think
the
we
way
can have it. I think we have to look at what the all is and get
yeah.
clear on what that is. I have what I call my CPR formula. Really, and I did it on me. I had to jumpstart our relationship, my
Yeah.
health, my mood, the best really call on the best version of me, so I had to get clear on who I was. Who is the type of person I wanna be, in life, you know, to myself, my interactions with other people, and what makes me successful.
Mm,
And then I had to prioritize what was important to me and let the other things go. I said, "The problem with most women, especially, but a lot of people, is they think everything has equal importance.
mm,
Everything is a priority, and everything isn't at the time. I mean, what's my priority today? I might have different priorities, tomorrow when it comes to
mm.
my business, but when you stay focused on your priorities, that's the C and the clear on clear on what's important, prioritize, and then the R is to take responsibility for creating, setting, and communicating boundaries to protect
Ooh,
your priorities.
I love the
And that's what we don't
CPR.
do. We don't protect what's important to us because we let other things come in that pull us away from what's
Yeah,
important.
I think we've been fed sort of like the work-life balance myth versus the work-life integration concept, and it's like, is there such a thing as work-life balance? No. Okay. Yeah, I kind of agree because it's like balance is like this precarious, like, single point
Look
in
at it. If
time, and
if a
it's
sa
like,
if a scale is balanced,
yeah, you can't
what's the
move.
number on the scale?
Yeah. 0. Yeah.
And that's what you get. Nothing.
Yeah.
But it's really and this is where the priorities come in, knowing which side to add or subtract to
Yeah.
create, to
In the
focus on
moment.
your priorities. So, if this is work and this is life, you know, there are gonna be times where I'm in a project or in a launch where work is gonna get more of me than
Mhm.
my personal life is. And the kicker is to communicate that. Husband, kid, dog, I need to work through dinner tonight, or can you make dinner so I can work on this? And you're going to find that the more people you communicate your boundaries to, the more people are going to support you in honoring that. Because when I create a boundary, and communicate that. If I veer off of that, the first person to call me back into play is my husband. "But didn't you say that you were gonna work on this because this was important, and here you are, da 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 da." He helps me stay on track, and you get more buy-in. You
That's
know,
awesome.
there's a story I like to tell when my kids were little, and, I used to get really, really bad migraines, which thank God I don't anymore, and when I got a migraine, it had to be, like, dark room, no light, quiet, that kinda thing, and I remember telling the girls, "Mommy has a migraine, I'm gonna lay down, I need quiet," and I hear them in the next room screaming, "Be quiet! Mom has a headache!" Which they were supporting my boundary in only a way a little child can at high volume. And I just thought it was the cutest thing because, "Mommy has a headache, you gotta be quiet." And they were shouting. They don't have volume control when you're at a certain age, but
Oh my gosh. It was
that
so
was
cute.
them protecting my boundary in the sweetest way possible by breaking it, by screaming at the top of their lungs. But you find we're so afraid of setting boundaries, like, "I can't be disturbed for an hour, I need to focus," or whatever. We're afraid that, "What if we say no? What are people gonna think of us? What if I've disappointed someone?" And you're gonna find the exact opposite. People are gonna help you more and support you more.
Hmm. Yeah, I love that concept. I think it is so important for women to really feel comfortable and have the confidence to set those boundaries and not worry so much about the theoretical impact it's going to have
Yeah.
on others, that we're like, we don't even, because we don't even ask and we don't even see what happens when we do ask. It's like, "Oh, I could do that." And oh, the world didn't come to an end. Like, I
Exactly.
don't have to make dinner every night.
Yeah.
It's okay.
I
Yeah.
remember I bought my husband it was called a Blue Apron subscription, and they would send all the food and the ingredients and
Yeah,
big
those meal
picture
prep
cards.
kits, those are awesome.
Yeah, and that was our my val I think it was my Valentine's Day gift to him because I was like, "Girl, you can't keep doing this all the you can't have such control over everything. It's exhausting and it's burning you out." And then he got so protective of his Blue Apron. "It's mine. It's my night to cook." I mean, it was such the cutest reaction to it, like, he didn't resent it at all. He was just like, "No, you can't touch my Blue Apron. It's my night to cook, and it's my recipes," and he got so as only a German could, I said, he just got really serious about it. I was like, "Okay, I will
Uh,
work an extra hour while you do dinner." Like, it was fine. And, if somebody asks you to do something and you've have this focused time to work on your stuff, you can you it's okay to say, "You know what? I'm really involved in this right now. Can I do this tomorrow? Can I do this later tonight?" Or, "You know what? I don't have the space to do this right now, but maybe so and so can." We can do it in a way that's not just, "No, I can't," because that just feels icky to everybody. It's
yeah.
like, I really would love to, and I'm working on this right now, or
Yeah,
I don't
and
have the space right now.
yeah, we have to really empower ourselves, I think, to sort of delete, delay, delegate,
Yeah, and
and
that's so hard for a lot of people,
so hard.
especially those of us who really think we can do it better than
Mhm.
somebody else,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
Whoever's listening to this, I'm talking to you. You know what? They'll never do it as well as I can do it. That's okay. Let them learn to do it better just like you did.
Or
It's okay.
different.
Yeah,
Yeah. And it's okay if it's not the way you do it or as
yeah,
good as
yeah,
the way you do it, it's like, okay, your kid maybe their pants are on backwards or whatever, it's like, I think this would literally happen in my
yeah,
house. And I just feel like, okay, whatever, it's fine.
yeah, yeah. I'm still struggling with the kitchen and the dishwasher thing, but I'm still a work in progress. I will
Oh,
admit
the
to it.
dishwasher. Oh,
My god, you too?
dishwasher.
Do you play dishwasher Tetris? Like, everything has to fit right.
Yes. Well, okay, so there's this meme. I have to send you this meme where it's like a tweet and it says, like, in every relationship, there's one person who loads the dishwasher like a Swedish architect and one
Like a
who
raccoon.
loads it
Yeah.
like a raccoon on meth, I think is what it is. And I'm like, yes, yes.
Yes.
And they're like, and we all know
I
which one
resemble
we
that
are.
meme.
Yes, yes. It was good. I showed it to my husband. He was like, yeah, well, I could be I could be a Swedish architect. I was like, "Oh, yeah, I don't think so." But
You know,
he's getting there, he's
I
getting there.
don't know if I'll ever get to the point where I can 100% let it go.
Yeah, and
However,
but I have to be at the point where I'm like, "Well,
if
he's loading the
he loaded the
dishwasher.
dishwasher, I'll just
Gotta
point and be like,
appreciate. You gotta appreciate. Gotta
"Yeah,
hold your
I think
breath and be
I'm
like,
gonna go to therapy for this now that you mention it." 'Cause I've been working on it way too long, and I've gotten incrementally better, but I haven't made any great strides, so yes.
yeah, listen, if I had the magic solution for this, I would share it on the show, but hey, if any of you are listening and you do have the magic solution of how not to get frustrated or irritated with your partner when they load the dishwasher completely wrong or when they put the dishes away in the completely wrong place.
Yeah, there's that too. I've just learned to just quietly put it back and manage my anxiety so I don't get as
Yeah.
anxious about it anymore. I wanna get to the point where I'm gonna let it stay in the wrong place. That's my goal in life. If we were really brave, we would make a request, "Honey, I have a request. When you unload the dishwasher, my request is that you put this here and not here." I'm not that brave yet.
I'm so curious about some of the things that you do in your high performance coaching and the things that you offer folks like the personal performance profile
Dun,
and
dun.
just, what that looks like and what it means about kind of, the hidden patterns and what's going on underneath and like what is driving us and how, depending on what those patterns are and what your personal performance profile looks like, how you end up sort of creating this identity for yourself of like, I am a person who does it all that we were just talking about.
It comes to down to the environment that impacted us the most in our early life experiences. I'll give you an example. I was around 12 years old when my dad saw me with a boy. Now, mind you, there was nothing happening, but obviously we liked each other, and he had the talk with me. Now, when my dad talked to you, it was usually like this, the newspaper was in front of that was a talk from my dad, and he didn't like this particular boy that he was a cute boy too, by the way. But, I remember he said to me, "Listen, if anybody ever tells you compliments you or tells you you look pretty or whatever, don't believe them. They just want something from you." Now, mind you, he only said that to me once, but it took root in me, and I know his intention was to protect me from boys or whatever. But fast forward 40 years later, this girl can still not accept a compliment, gets very uncomfortable receiving compliments, always deflects, always self-deprecates when somebody says, "Oh, you look pretty today." "Well, you should have seen me this morning." "Well, God bless Estee Lauder, because if it wasn't for this make," there's always something. I could
You just have
never
to negate it somehow. Yeah.
deflect all of the things. And I was doing a personal performance profile with a client once, and she had come to a realization of something her father said to her that kind of stuck with her and impacted how she reacts in certain situations. And that's when it came to me when I was 12. Daddy said this. And it wasn't like he said it every day. He said it once, and
One
it took
time.
root like a dandelion that you cannot pluck out enough. And there are incidences in our lives where, you know, something happened, something was said, a pattern in our lives. There are a lot of clients that I coach from different cultural backgrounds where perfectionism is really lauded. If you got a 99 on a test instead of 100, you never got applauded for the 99. It was like, well, why didn't you get 100? What did you get wrong? Did you not study enough? And there's certain cultures that really, you know, academic achievement is high on their list. And even some where they grew up in different countries, they categorize the children like that. And so they're really hard on themselves when they don't get it just right, and it's a little bit of a beat down, a disappointment, and so, you know, in the personal performance profile, there are 5 distinct profiles or styles that kinda dominate our operating system. Maybe we had an overprotective or critical parent. We became more of a pleaser. That tends to dominate. We say yes more too often, or we try to make this person happy before we make ourselves happy, that kind of thing. There is a controlling type. There's a yo-yo type, what I call kind of that back and forth. We get really excited and have high expectations, but when our expectations aren't met, we drop down into such disappointment that it manifests as anger. We get upset if people don't do things the right way or how we think they should be done. There's those who accept blame for everything. Just really take that on, grow up in certain types of households. And then there's my favorite, which is the E, the evader, the one who avoids all types of emotions. So maybe you grew up in a household where, if you're a male, boys don't cry, or big girls don't cry, or, they didn't let you feel your emotions. Parents try to be helpful and like, it's okay, you're fine. You're like, no, I'm not. And my dad, God bless him, he used to have this thing with me, only cry unless you're physically hurt. Well, he said that to my 5-year-old daughter one day. And she looked at him and said, "But grandpa, my heart is hurting, so I'm gonna cry." And I'm like, "Oh, she's good." Why couldn't I say that when I was little? I would just stuff my emotions because it made daddy unhappy to see me emotional.
I mean, that moment when your kids say to your parents what you wish you could have said,
Right?
that's a beautiful moment. I mean, my daughter, boy, does she speak her mind, and she just tells it like it is, and I applaud her for that, and it's like, yeah, we weren't able to do that maybe because there's too much at stake and we're too close to it,
Maybe
but
we didn't have
but
the words.
but one generation away
Yeah.
too, yeah, and maybe it's because also we did such a good job as moms,
Yeah. Yeah.
we just raised these
We
great
were we're
kids.
just awesome.
Yeah.
But I was like, "Oh, snap. She said what I couldn't articulate for 40 years." Like, bless
Mhm.
her heart. And so, the reason why I do this performance proci it's an assessment quiz, is so that once we realize that there's nothing wrong with us, we're not broken, we don't need to be fixed. We just have a pattern that we reacted to childhood anxiety over, things that made us nervous or anxious, or we wanted to make people feel a certain way that just manifests differently in our adult lives. And once we can take that pressure off of us and we can recognize when it pops up, we can create habits to, make a different choice.
Yeah, I could not agree more, 100%, and I think that something that you talk about is making the unconscious conscious. And that is sort of almost critical and pivotal to shifting our patterns of behavior, our patterns of thought that maybe keep us stuck in ways that are going to promote burnout.
Yeah, yeah. It can sabotage or damage what we really want to achieve. It's people call it what's holding me back, what are my blind spots, what's keeping me stuck. There's all kinds of vernacular for it. But once you know yourself a little bit better, it's easier to grow yourself. So part of what I do with my clients is like, in order for the coaching and, I do kind of high performance habits coaching, to really have a good chance of making lasting change and helping you achieve what you want to achieve, it's really useful to just go back a little bit, not in a way, I'm not a therapist. I am not trained to be a therapist. And so I'm not trying to bring up any childhood trauma or tragedy or anything, but just to kind of find out what are some hidden patterns that you picked up, maybe to protect yourself as a child. If you grew up in an abusive household, whether verbally or physically, or maybe alcohol, what are some patterns you developed as a child that are still kind of embedded in you today, but look different in how they show up? And once you can realize that, then I was like, "Oh, I see this is what I do when I feel like this, because it reminds me of something a school bully said to me or my dad said to me, and I'm reacting to this person in the same way, and
Mm.
that's not their intention." So that's where that curiosity and question, so if you're unsure of the intent, what can you ask to get clear, like, what did you mean by that? Tell me more about that." And they're like, explain it in a way of like, "Okay, they're not trying to hurt me. This is maybe their way of, expressing themselves that I'm taking a different way because of what it meant to me when I was 10 years old." And so it just really helps you recognize things more and then get more curious I always call it get curious before you get furious. Things
Mm.
that would make you mad, well, let me dig a little deeper because,
Oh
my
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 gosh.
husband does this thing that, can really set me off. But I know that's not his intention, but it remind me of something my mother did when she was mad at me. And he's not mad at me, that's just how he expresses himself, so I have to learn how to separate it.
Right. But you just hit the nail on the head, and that's the key. And oh my gosh, I love that. I have to tattoo that on my forehead. Get curious before you get furious. Or it's like create space, but when you're getting triggered by something rather than being, reactive to
Yeah,
it, you have to like consciously put that space in between and ask those questions and reflect and give that breathing room to the situation, but it's easier said than done. It is not easy to do. And yeah, so I'm going to switch gears here to another really important topic, which is related to making the unconscious conscious and just tying together all of your work with burnout and coaching and high performance coaching to your book. So you've written a book, you're a best-selling author, and the book is called The Intimacy of Brace, right?
yeah. I wrote that book in 2021, so by then we were well into COVID and what happened in May of 2020 with George Floyd's murder, and, that incident affected me harder than I expected it to because I was a person who was just used to hearing stories of police brutality against people of color, to where I was numb to it. It never affected me. I didn't know what everybody was talking about. What's all the hubbub about? This happens to us all the time. Why are we making a big deal out of this one? And then
Mm,
I got curious and I Googled the video and I saw it. And
yeah.
something inside me broke completely, to where I could not stop crying. It was uncontrollable. I didn't know what to do, where to go from here. And my husband is a blonde haired, blue eyed German man. And I have to give him credit. He did not say to me, "It's okay."
Mm,
And I don't know where he got it from, but he knew enough. not to say anything, but to just hold me, and that was what I needed in the moment, and I felt really helpless. What do I do? How do I help? Blah, 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 and so I just meditated for a couple of days. I was like, "I don't know how to help," but what I was seeing online was well-meaning white people getting, crucified for trying to help, but saying the wrong thing. It was like open mouth, enter foot, and, my thought was, you know, we're all learning what this dance is supposed to look like, and when people really have the intention of helping, but they're not doing it right or saying it right, why are we making them feel bad? Why don't we just help them? And so I created a number of things. I created an online forum that was 3 hours long, was just a listen and learn event. I created a Facebook group called The Intimacy of Race where we can just, like, say it messy. You don't know what to do, you don't know, you're saying all lives matter, you don't know the implication that has. It's just like, well, don't do a breast cancer fundraiser because all cancers matter. Like, that's
Right.
not it that's not what we're saying. Right now, this is about breast cancer, okay? But
Yeah,
we can do
seriously.
heart disease later or
We're
liver
able
cancer
to
another time.
hold
Yeah,
many truths
yeah.
at the
It
same
doesn't mean
time.
that
Yeah.
that doesn't matter, but this is what we're focused on now, and I wanted to create a non-judgmental space, and so with everything that I was doing, what came on my heart to do, not that I was an expert in anything, although people were like, "Well, you're Black, you should be an expert." Like, no. I grew up in this world to where I had my own biases and judgments against people of color because I was the only Black child in an all-white Catholic school. Like, I grew up around it, people asking me my hair like, I was in school in the '70s, it was cool to have an afro, although my hair was so thin, it was like the floppiest afro ever, but, like, "Can I touch your hair?" Like, I grew up thinking microaggressions were normal. So I'm learning just like everybody else, and so when I wrote the book, it was from that place of having a heart for knowing we're not always gonna be right, we're just all trying to get it right,
Mm,
and that's where the book came from.
gosh, that's so it's so needed, and I think that we underestimate the toll that microaggressions and the undercurrent of racism and sexism in this country that permeates everything, that takes the toll that it takes in terms of contributing to burnout. And we see that, and it's like, but we're just supposed to soldier on and keep going. And I can't even imagine what it's like. I mean, I know a little bit, being a Jewish woman, it's not a great time for that. And we were just chatting before we got on the podcast about how you just said like everything's just been all like the reaction to things, and this climate, this political climate, this social climate, the online climate, like what you were talking about just now about the way we attack people and the way, the comment section is
Nobody's
just like
furious.
a
Everybody goes
dumpster of fire.
yeah,
We're
everybody goes
not
straight to furious.
we're not
Nobody's curious.
listening. We're
Mhm.
not listening, we're not talking, we're not curious, we're not giving people the benefit of the doubt either to make mistakes and to learn and to do better and to be like, "Okay, all right. Yeah, that wasn't great, and I'm gonna explain why, and but that's okay."
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
just it's really hard to create that space, especially when everything is online and when everything is so charged and so heated, and when you've got, our current government basically fueling that fire 24/7.
That's what's sad about it. There's no true example of leadership in
Mm-mm.
our government spaces for us to emulate, admire, aspire to, but I don't think there's any real example of leadership to aspire to because it's all based in, winners and losers, who's right, who's wrong, nobody is trying to, trying to bring people together. They're
No.
just
They're trying
really
to
yeah, the
divide and
intention is to divide and
stoke
conquer.
fear, stoke hate,
Divide and
and that's
conquer.
how they can control people. I mean, that's right out of the playbook, you know? It's
Yeah,
like,
and it's sad to see how many people are buying into it more than it is sad to see what the leadership is doing because, leadership across the centuries have been kind of a divide and conquer, mentality everywhere all the time. It didn't just happen now. So, I thought most people were evolved beyond that they wouldn't allow that again. And so it's just heartbreaking to see how people really feel.
yeah. I mean, I think that's the brutal truth of it is that we thought we had made so much progress
Yeah.
in 2008, 2012. We thought we had gone to the next level, and we've just slid all the way back and then some.
Yeah, and
And
it's people are showing who they really are, and that's the hurtful part.
yeah,
Some people you expect it, yes, I'm not surprised
but
that this person is like this, but the majority of some of the supporters is just like,
and the permission structure and yeah, the permission structure now of like, "Oh, you can be loud and proud and racist and sexist and bigoted and just a horrible person, and that's okay." And
loud.
and we're and that's accepted now in our society. Not just accepted, it's applauded. And that is a massive, massive problem because we used to be able to shame racists and
Yeah,
say, like, "That's shameful behavior. You can't behave like that."
yeah,
Not in this day and
they're
age, not
proud of
in
it now.
but it's like, "What are we doing, people?" Like, it's just well, listen, I could talk to you all day, but we gotta wrap up with our last segment of the show, which I like to call rapid fire, where we do quick, hard-hitting questions. And don't worry, just answer, like, the first thing that comes to mind. So, what's one habit that you dropped that changed everything?
I think watching TV before going to bed allowed me
Ooh, I'm guilty of that one.
screens before bedtime, I dropped that and replaced it with reading, like, stuff on paper to help kind of power down my nervous system to get a better night's sleep, and sleep is really important to me.
Could not agree more. Okay, so I do pass because while I do watch TV at night, an hour or 2 before bed, I read. I don't watch.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah, no, I watch TV, but
I'm
then
good. I'm
I don't
okay.
go watch it in bed. I only watch it in bed if I'm sick and been in bed all day.
Yeah. 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 What does rest actually look like for you?
Rest for me is more mental than physical. It's, just having the phone out of reach, and for me, my morning walk is rest because I'm just out, I'm moving my body, and I am, depending upon what I need is what I listen to on the walk, and sometimes it's nothing. Sometimes it's just my own thoughts and to get them out, so, yeah, it's more mental rest. Mhm.
The success metric that you used to chase that you no longer care about?
I care about it, but I don't chase it, and that's the money, making a certain amount of money. I used to have a financial goal every year, and I don't think that's bad, but it was stressing me out too much, so I dropped it.
I love it. Fill in the blank. You can't outsmart burnout without first outsmarting.
I would say outsmarting what you think are priorities and, getting clear on what's really important and not thinking everything is important
Mm,
'cause,
okay.
yeah. Mhm.
All right. Well, listen, if the woman today that's listening to this episode and maybe identifies and hears a little bit of herself in the story, maybe she's holding everything together, maybe she's pursuing that myth of work-life balance or the has the as soon as disease, what's one important takeaway that you want her to have today?
I would say having it all doesn't mean doing it all, and I think that's probably back to your question that I passed on that, I really felt that I had to be the one to do everything, and I don't. I know, and it's so much easier now to outsource things, you know, even if, you have AI organize your calendar or something like that, but yeah, I think it's that myth of what it looks like to have it all and to have control of everything. Because as a recovering control freak, that was the main source of my exhaustion, was thinking, "All right, I don't need to send my husband to the grocery store because 'cause he'll come back with the wrong thing." Now it's like, "So what if he does? So what if"
Exactly. Exactly.
Matters sometimes no matter how clear I make it, and I do keep in mind that English is not his first language, he will come back with, like, "I know that's not what I said," but and being okay with it, and that would used to frustrate me, so really learning what to focus my energy in, and the other thing I would say is multitasking. Stop it. Because the brain was only designed to focus on one thing at a time. Your brain cannot multi-focus. Yes, we are able to multitask, but if you're okay with everything you're tasking to be half-assed, that's one thing. But if you really want to be a high performer, you have to focus on one thing at a time, focus on what matters most, focus on the step that you're in, focus. Our brains cannot multi-focus, so yeah, just know that when you think you can, listen to this and do this at the same time, somebody's getting the short end of the stick.
All right. Well, lots of words of wisdom from Eva today. And if you're listening and you've enjoyed this episode, please give us a like, a review, subscribe. We're really grateful, and it really does help more women discover the podcast because that's our goal, to be able to help more women. And where can folks connect with you and find you if they feel the need to work on themselves?
Well, my website is simply my name, evamedilek.com, and if you wanna take the personal profile assessment, you just go to evamedilek.com/quiz. Super
Ooh,
easy, and then
love a
you can
good
find out
quiz.
what your primary, performance style is, and, open to speaking, to doing workshops, all of that can be found on my website.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, I think I might have to take that quiz because I you know what I say? I never met a quiz or a personality test that I didn't like. So I'll head over to your website. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. And to all of our listeners out there, as always, remember burnout is not your destiny, it's your wake up call.